is downward sloping, right? So what is the equilibrium? It is that point where supply curve and demand curve intersect. You see, this red dot is called equilibrium, right? And on that equilibrium, we can find out the equilibrium quantity and equilibrium price. What is equilibrium price? Price is on the price on the y-axis. On the y-axis, we can find out the price. So see, this is the equilibrium price, and on quantity, quantity is on x-axis. So this is the quantity. So this is called equilibrium quantity, and this is called equilibrium price, right? So from now on, when we talk about the market, so this is the market. How this is the market? Where buyers and sellers, they interact with each other. So you see, this is suppliers, producers, or sellers. These are buyers, consumers, or clients, right? So when they interact with each other, what happened? They agree on a price called equilibrium price, where the seller agreed to sell the quantity and buyer agreed to buy the quantity. So it means in a market, buyers and sellers, they agree that they are going to supply how much quantity? 7 quantities of ice cream at the price of 2. If they increase the price, what will happen? There is going to be different prices and different quantity, right? And there's going to be a mismatch. So there is no equilibrium. So you see, at quantity 10, what happened? On demand, quantity demanded is 10. You see the demand, but the price, for example, this is 1.5. The price is 1.5. If you see, on quantity supplied is 10, the price is, for example, is 2.5. So you see, even though the quantity supplied and quantity demanded are same, but price, they are not same. So when supplier wants to sell 10 quantities, he expects that he would be given 2.5 per ice cream. But instead, the buyers, they expect that they are going to buy 10 quantities of ice cream at 1.5. That creates an imbalance, or there is no equilibrium, right? And if we see, let me just remove all this mess here. If we see below this equilibrium, for example, this 3, what will happen here? So this is supply, right? Because supply is upward sloping, so this is supply. And this would be a demand. So when quantity is 3, which means quantity supply is 3 on 3, the seller expect that I would be given 1.5 on 1 cone and I would be supplying 3 cones of ice cream. The buyers, they expect that we would be buying 3 quantities of ice cream at 2.5. Though the quantities are same, but prices are not same, right? So there is imbalance. So market is not balanced. We call this, there is a still negotiation here as well. So let's discuss about these. So we call these imbalances either surplus or either shortage. Surplus means when quantity supplied greater than quantity demanded, or when quantity demanded is less than quantity supplied. So we also call this excess supply. The other name is excess supply or just surplus. So what will happen? Let's talk about it. excess supply or surplus. How it happened? Here we go. So you see here, so surplus is, so this is the case of equilibrium. So if in the market the price is 2.5, what happened here? This is quantity demanded, this is quantity supplied, right? Which is 4, which is 10, right? So surplus occur at a price, you can say above equilibrium. So we found one characteristics of surplus, that it is above equilibrium price. I should say right like this, above equilibrium price. Let me just erase this one, PE, right? Okay. So second, we talk about the definition, which is quantity supplied greater than quantity demanded. You see, 10 is greater than 4, right? So when there is surplus at this price, now the focus is price, at 2.5 price, the buyers expect that I would be buying 4 quantity at 2.5. Whereas at 2.5, the sellers expect that they will be selling 10 quantities at 2.5. So what will happen? Which means we have a managerial decision here. So what will happen? We have surplus because quantity supply greater than demand 4. So who is at disadvantage here? The supplier says they are going to sell you 10 quantities at 2.5. The buyer says, no, we want to buy 4 quantities at 2.5 each, right? So in that case, the seller will decrease the price. How they can decrease? There are a couple of methods. Either they just decrease the price, or either they can, offer rebates, discount, or some other, discounting strategies like buy one, get one free, this kind of stuff, right? So in order to sell more, the suppliers, what is the decision making by the suppliers? They will decrease the price. So they will decrease the price. So from priced, right now the market price, let me call it PM. So when surplus happens, what happens? The market price will go down until it reaches to equilibrium price, right? So that is the further discussion. Why? Because equilibrium is a point where both parties are happy. So as a supplier, you want to expect more, you want to receive more money. As a buyer, you want to pay less money. So there is some kind of negotiation, some kind of interaction, right? And that interaction occurs in a market. So in a market, when both parties, they meet with one another, so what happened? Market adjusts itself to equilibrium. So if supply is more, so what will happen? The price start decreasing until it reaches to equilibrium, right? And what happened if, okay, so how we represent the surplus in a graph? So this area above the equilibrium, we call that surplus. This is how we represent on a graph, right? So what we have discussed in surplus, these 4 things. Number 1, surplus occurs when price is above the equilibrium point. Equilibrium price, sorry, not equilibrium. This is the equilibrium point and this is the equilibrium price. 2, we talked about that. Surplus occurs when quantity supplied greater than quantity demanded. And what will happen when surplus occurred? The decision is that price start decreasing until it reaches to the equilibrium price, right? And the surplus on a graph is shown, it is the area above the equilibrium, that is. So let's talk about the shortage, which is also called excess demand. Excess demand is when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, right? So let's read that. When price less than equilibrium price, then quantity demanded greater than quantity supplied. We will also prove this one. Suppliers will raise the price due to too much buyers chasing too few goods, thereby moving towards the equilibrium. Let's talk about these 2 points. So this is the market of ice cream, because this is the price of ice cream, this is the quantity of ice cream.